I'm looking for greatness and goodness in everybody on the team, and people should expect this of me. Greatness is your chops, right? You got to have it. You got to be able to do the thing you're supposed to go do, whether that's DevOps or marketing or sales or what have you. And goodness is your kindness and your smile that you bring to every day. So you need that balance of both the head and the heart. I don't think you can have one without the other long term.
Welcome to the True Leadership Podcast, where we sit down with executive leaders to explore what leadership really means through the lens of their stories, their wins, their struggles, their vision, and their lessons along the way. I'm Hammond, founder of One Mountain Leadership and creator of the True Leadership Approach, an awareness-based path that helps leaders shift their focus from what to do about their problems to how to grow from them. Whether you're just stepping into leadership or are well-seasoned and at the top of your game, your potential won't be realized following someone else's script, but you can draw insights from their stories and turn it into wisdom by putting it into practice in your own life. Welcome to the True Leadership Podcast, where we explore the essence of leadership beyond tactics and performance by sitting down with executives to hear what matters most to them. I'm your host, Hammond. Today's guest is Bryan Walley. Bryan is the CEO and co-founder of Forward Inheritance, a fintech platform designed to help families optimize wealth across generations. Through Forward Access, Bryan is pioneering new ways for the next generation to responsibly access a portion of their future inheritance without compromising their parents' financial security. A seasoned technology and financial services executive, Bryan has led SaaS, banking, and enterprise software organizations through rapid growth and transformation. With a background spanning product management, treasury services, and executive leadership, he brings strategic vision, operational discipline, and a deep commitment to building innovative solutions that move families forward. It's my pleasure to have Bryan here with me today. Welcome to the show, Bryan.
Ty, the pleasure's all mine. Thank you so very much for having me.
Fantastic. I always start here. Every leader, of course, has a beginning. Who we are as leaders at work and in life, of course, starts taking shape long before we advance to any position of executive leadership. Curious to have you share a story maybe from an early experience or someone from your early life that really shaped the person and the leader that you are today.
I think it's hard to not start with family just because they're so fundamental. And I know how lucky I am with my family. It's not because I was born in America as a male in California. It's because I was born with two great parents and three loving sisters, all older, and it was expected. We were expected to lead. My father led, my mother led many organizations. All three of my sisters were leaders in their respective fields and endeavors. And so it was just it was a family expectation, I think is a good way to think about it. But what I really had was really great mentors and a lot of people that showed me the way and showed me how to do it. Folks that will go down in the annals of history that are important to me, but may not be the most common names, right? Don Shimizu, Bert Rothman, the list goes on and on and on. And I think really it came down to family. We were expected to lead. You're expected to help. You're expected to do a good job, right? And I think that's why kind of some of why I do what I do is it's what we were supposed to go do. You're supposed to go help. And leadership tend to be the best way to help, I think.
I'm curious of your, maybe, I know it's, maybe not picking sides or anything, but of your father, your mother, one of your sisters, what's one way that you feel like you see how their influence shows up in how you lead today?
Yeah, my mother said it this way, and so I'm going to honor her by saying that my father may have given me the brains, but she gave me the heart. And I think you need both to be a good leader. The phrase we often hear, right, is a hard head, but a soft heart. I think the other way I like to describe it is I'm looking for greatness and goodness in everybody on the team, and people should expect this of me. Greatness is your chops. Right? You got to have it. You got to be able to do the thing you're supposed to go do, whether that's DevOps or marketing or sales or what have you. And goodness is your kindness and your smile that you bring to every day. Someone who's great but not good, that's the high performing a-hole. And, that works for a bit, but not long term. And someone who's really good but not great is your aunt and uncle at a barbecue. And I love them, but maybe I don't want them on the team. Right? So you need that balance of both the head and the heart. And I think that I'm splitting the baby there. I'm going right down the middle and giving both of them. Sorry, but I don't think you can have one without the other long term. That's why. That's why.
It's a really great lead into my next question here. I'm curious, of course, on this podcast, we're exploring what I would call the essence of leadership, true leadership. And of course, that's going to mean different things to different people. What does true leadership mean to you? What makes a true leader in your eyes?
I'm going to quote Bert Rothman here, right? Who I just noted. Bert said, "What's the first rule of leadership?" And I was like, "I don't know, Bert. I'm young in my career." And he goes, "Well, you got to have someone follow you. Because if no one's following you, you're just a madman wandering in the desert." So that's the first rule of leadership, or level one, if you will. Level two is, can you get a lot of people to follow you, right? Not just one person, but can you get many, many folks to, do what needs to be done, if you will. And that may be level two of leadership. And then level three of leadership is, did you create new leaders? And I think that is true leadership. Do the seeds that you call it planted and grow, do they go to new gardens and start doing great things over there, right? Do they bring their greatness and goodness to other gardens? And does that legacy ripple through? That I think is the essence of true leadership, right? Can you create new humans who are following their own path, but leading because, you helped them along the way. Just like the infinity people that helped me.
Yeah. And what's your sense of, from your experience, what is it that helps to empower other folks into their own form of leadership?
Yeah. Look, you got to have a good idea. You got to have a good vision of where you're going, right? Okay, that's a job requirement of a leader, right? That's part of the greatness of a leader, if you will. And I think part of the goodness of a leader is, did you put the team in a position where they could thrive, right? Are you enabling them to be their best self? And you got to understand who they are, how they operate, right? What makes them tick? Some folks on the team are, it's all KPI driven, what have you. What is it? Some folks need an arm around the shoulder, and some folks need a kick in the arse. Sorry, not sorry, right? So okay, you got to understand who you're dealing with and how are they going to respond, so that you can guide them into, get them playing rowing in the right direction, if you can use that phrase. I mean, we're going to use all the metaphors today, right? But I think that's really it, right? You got to be able to be articulate on where you're about to go, and then B, ensure that they have the ability to get there, get there because they want to, not because you're telling them to.
Yeah, I often say that, you can tell people what to do, but you can't tell them to want to do it.
Yeah.
That's leadership. And you bring up another interesting point there, and I'm curious to hear you maybe expound a little bit on, because this is a really necessary, not all people are needing of the same kind of support or like some people may need more support, that arm around the shoulder, as you say, and some people may need a little more challenge, that kick in the arse, as you say. What's the ways that you found to be able to see what's needed there?
Yeah. So a couple things that I've implemented over my career that seem to be effective for me, right? One, I have a cheat sheet for working with me. So when someone joins the team, I'm like, hey, great news. Here's a shortcut on a weird thing. I live by my calendar. And so I become very frustrated when people are late. I am very frustrated if I'm the late person. That is rude to everybody else. Just rude. So, right, that's a quirk of mine that you can find out the easy way from a piece of paper or the hard way, right? So when I conduct one-on-ones, they are only for, the one-on-ones are for the team. And so they must come with the agenda. I'll have a couple things that, I'm going to talk about in that one-on-one. I'll have agenda items, but they own the agenda. A, and B, I don't let them talk about work for like the first 10 minutes. And just to know who the human is, ask them what they did this weekend. Ask them what book they're reading. Ask them what their favorite song is. Tell me about a memory from childhood. Anything, just to get them talking about themselves. The work, we have operating mechanisms to talk about the work. Cool. Let's talk about the human, and let's understand the human, because if you don't take care of the humans, no one's taking care of the work. So to me, those are the two things: is A, try to give people a shortcut on how to deal with me, and then get super curious on how to learn the best way what do they need out of their environment so they can thrive? How do I help? Right? I think my first question is always, how do I help?
Love that. And I love the bi-directional of that too. Right? You're like, "Hey, here's me," and then
Yeah,
right, getting curious in the opposite
yeah,
direction as well. Can you share about a time when you realized that your way of leading or living no longer met the demands of work and life, a turning point in your life or career?
yeah. Look, I've had many, and in fact, without there was a less than 12-month period where the mother of my children decided that she didn't want to be married anymore. And 80 out of 115 of us at Exactuals got restructured, and I was no longer CEO of that business. And that all happened within a 9 to 12-month period. Uh, and so it is really hard when reality says, thank you, but no thank you. You're not wanted here anymore. And Yeah, it took a lot to just sit in it, and to wear it, and to analyze it, and to think about what can I do better, to think about what was in my control in these situations and what was out of my control in these situations. Um, I don't control interest rates. Okay, so like when that happens, man, like we were doing great, and interest rates got weird in spring of 2023. Okay, so we got restructured. That's not a insult to my ego, or it's not a reflection of my ego. It's not a reflection of the job I was doing. Um, it just is. So, I think getting really clear on what you can control and what you can't control helped me. The only way out is through, and then focusing on the things you can control and digging your way out of it. And it was a long valley. I'm pretty grateful to say I'm mostly out of it. On some level, you're never really out of some of those things, and fine. But it's a humbling thing, and I think it allowed me to do it better today. You know?
I, I so appreciate you sharing that. We all have these profound experience wake ups, and I'm curious. That sounds like especially with all of that stuff happening at one time. w- What do you feel like you were being asked to let go of during that time in order to like you said, dig yourself out, or sort of get to this next place? It's often what turning points require, is a letting go of something.
Yeah. It when you tie your ego to what you do, you have like when I tied my ego, I am the CEO of Exaction. That is no longer a factual statement and has not been for a few years. Okay, right? Um, and resetting on, well, then who am I? Right? If I am not married, who am I? Right? And redefining what mattered to me and why. And so that I could be very clear on, all right, as I face, call it today or tomorrow, how am I going to do that differently so I don't repeat the mistakes of the past? Um, and we can talk about my daily intention. We can talk about meditation practices. We can talk about the fact that I did a whole series of things to try to enable me and help me walk my way out of that valley.
Well, that's a perfect lead in for the next question here, because we're talking about what it actually is that has helped you grow over time. So maybe just sort of sticking with this theme here, what, especially through, I think that can be really helpful for people to hear, Bryan, especially through particular moments of challenge. What have you found has really helped you the most through that?
I remember I asked one of my best friends. He pulls me aside when all this is starting to go down, and he goes, "Hey, man, you're a first time CEO. It's pretty weird." Yeah, it's pretty weird. And he goes, "Mother of your children is asking for some interesting things." I go, "Yeah, it's a pretty interesting time." And he's like, "Maybe you should just be stone cold sober until we run the island of Catalina." And I was like, "Do I have to?" And he goes, "No, man, you don't. You don't have to do any of that, but maybe you should." And so I think having a few good people around you who are willing to have the tough conversation with you, good friends stab you in the front,
Hmm.
you know, and you have to cultivate that relationship. You got to dig a well before you're thirsty. You can't just like be in a bad spot and then say I need help. I mean, you can. It's fine. But having great relationships so that when everybody stumbles, everybody gets kicked in the shins. Life is unfair. It is cold. It is unforgiving, and it is mean a lot of the times. And you will have people that will come and help you. I'm sure. I'm sure you do. You know what I mean? I'm lucky enough that I did, and I'm sure the folks listening here have a few good friends that would help as well. Um, yeah, I hope that answered your question. I might have rambled there a little bit. I hope that answered what you were looking for.
I mean, I think it's really profound and it's really beautiful. And what I'll sort of say that I'm taking from that, and you said, the metaphor, I love the metaphors, by the way, the dig in the well before you're thirsty. And, I always think of planting a seed before you're hungry.
Same.
And it seems to me what I'm really taking from what I'm hearing is the time and the energy that we offer to our relationships. The fruit of that becomes apparent when it's most needed.
Yeah.
As is true with most essential things in life. Anyways, I'm taking just a moment of pause with what you're offering here, because I think it's worthwhile to just acknowledge the essential nature of that, our relationships with each other. And, because it's easy to take that stuff for granted when times are good.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And it's it I think most people want to help, which is great. I think asking for help is really hard. It's hard for me. It's hard for everybody. No one likes to be like, "Hey, me. I'm the guy with spilled milk right now. Can you help me clean up some spilled milk?" Right? No one likes that. That's not fun. And candidly, most of us get here in our careers and our lives by people who don't, by being the kind of human that doesn't need help. Right? Being self-sufficient is a value of mine, and it was hard for me to ask for help. But when you need it, because sitting alone on a Tuesday night by yourself, it becomes pretty apparent that you probably need some help, or I needed some help. How about that? And I was fortunate enough, I think, to your point, I'd had these relationships, and I think the first thing is I try to help everybody. I mean, I already said it earlier today, which was like, how do I help? And this is how I deal with my friends. It's how I deal with my children. It's one of the most questioned. My team will tell you I probably say that too often, or not often enough. Fair. It's help if you can. And then it's wild when you every once in a while, if you help 99 times and you need it once, a lot of people are going to step in and say, "Hey man, I'll help you back." It's kind of how the world works.
Well, speaking of help, let's talk vision. What's your vision for your own leadership, your legacy, the impact that you'd like your help to have in the world and in the years ahead?
I mentioned that level 3 leadership concept earlier. I think if I could think about what my impact is, it is glorious to see some of the folks that I've been on teams with where I was like, oh, you're going to lead stuff one day. Like I'm just 10 years ahead of you. Like that's it. Like that's the only thing, right? Is I may be a click ahead of you in terms of days, but like I can see it. We all kind of know who that human is. And then, you see those people just flourishing and flowering and building their own garden. And you're like, man, ain't that great? Like, ain't life grand? Like, ain't that just the beautifulest thing? That I think professionally, that would be my legacy. And I would say personally, my legacy is to see my children thriving, well-loved, and being great humans, good and great humans as they walk through their lives. They don't have to do what I do. You know what I mean? Pick your passion, and I don't know. I'll go support marine biology or volleyball or esports or whatever you're into today, right? Let's go do that. Let's go get super curious about what you're into and support it. I think those would be my two legacies, if I can say it that way.
Well, I really appreciate that. I can say that I definitely share the one with the children there, and that touches my heart a bit. Just I hear that one for sure.
I love my munchkins. I think I'll keep them.
Same here. Same here. Where do you feel the most tested right now? What are the challenges that are stretching you the most?
Yeah. Look, we live in a VUCA world, right? Volatile, uncertain, chaotic, ambiguous. That is true globally. That is true domestically. That is definitely true in the software industry right now. We're seeing how we build software right now is changing so fast that it's hard to keep up. If I'm not like reading the news every day on how LLMs will impact, how we operate. Uh, you miss a day and you've missed a week. And I think it's because that learning loop with AI is so much more compressed than anything else. And I can go off on a little tangent about what I mean there. But I think the impact of it is how we build software. We started with waterfall, we switched to agile, and we've actually are sliding back towards waterfall because of how LLMs and AI require us to use English as the coding language, not C++ or Java or whatever the language was. And so watching that dynamic shift has been wild. And I like I said, I could get nerdy and talk about those things for a while, but those are really where I'm growing. This is a whole new way of operating. I think if we started Forward Inheritance today, 5 years ago, we'd need 50 people, and we might need 10 now. The size of the team is just dramatically different. And the learning cycle and the speed at which we can deliver new code and provide value like that, as opposed to waiting even 2 weeks or a month. It's just, we've never seen this before, Ty, and we're all trying to keep up. It's wild.
So it's this immense opportunity, of course. What do you feel is the challenge that creates for you as a leader navigating
Yeah.
all of
I, you have to choose, do I want to play the AI sport? We do not create LLMs ourselves. We do not train LLM. Like, that's not our sport, right? I'm letting other people play that game, and we're not playing that game. We'll use LLMs all over the place. We'll use AI all over the place, but we're not the ones creating it, if that makes sense, right? We're leveraging it as a tool so that we can be better. So it's finding the humans that are curious enough and want to implement it, but don't want to create it, right? Like, so that's interesting. And then getting folks to understand this is how we produce output or work or code, right? There's a very defined process for the last 30, 40 years that's gotten better and better and better. And all of a sudden, within the last year, it's completely shifted. And like, you kind of have to throw out a lot of those playbooks. Or have this, or don't, see how that goes for you. Right. So what it's really done, this is interesting. It has blurred the lines of where the job is. What's a product designer versus a product manager versus a senior engineer versus a DevOps engineer, when I can have a prompt do the whole thing? Like, who runs technology? Who's a builder? Who's an engineer? If everybody on the team can commit code, who's an engineer? We're all engineers. Well, who's the product guy? Who's the marketing guy? Who's the DevOps guy? All of it? Yes. Like, you know what I mean? And like, how do you get people to get comfortable playing jazz when it used to be very strict 4/4 time? That's different. Yeah.
Yeah, you're sort of bringing up what I thought here is the distinction between a role and a function.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's part of what I hear. A role is predetermined, and it's like, here's what you do.
Yep.
But a function, to some extent, is that question that you've been asking your whole life, it sounds like, and this whole podcast, which is, how can I be helpful? And finding where that function is, like, what is actually helpful now that we don't necessarily have a predefined role and somebody's telling me what's going to be helpful.
Yeah, it's yes, right? So we talk a lot about the work to be done, the humans to do it, and then it's like, cool, who wants to raise their hand and play that instrument in the band? It's right, and it's like, well, that instrument's never existed before, but like, I know that the keytar has never existed before, but now we're on stage with this thing because we're combining the guitar and the keyboards. It's a great news. Who's going to play the keytar? It's like, oh, we all play the keytar? Like, well, okay, we all can't play the keytar. So like, all right, what are we going to do? Cool, you stay on drums. You know what I mean? Like, that's fine. So it's just finding out and negotiating with two humans that are both great and good and want to be helpful and want to, shine and thrive. And like, I love that. And so you have a couple of folks who are like, well, isn't that my job? Or is that my job? And what's my job? That is shifting every day right now. It's wild.
We are making some funky new sounds, it sounds like.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
So this last question is more of an invitation. You have the time and space here to offer to our listeners whatever it is that's most in your mind and heart to share. Take your time. The floor is yours.
Thank you. At the risk of somewhat repeating myself, how do you help? How do you help? Everybody can help, right? First, take care of you. Make sure you've got your fundamentals, right? Like take care of yourself and then look around and go, how do I help? Right? And I think people, when they have that kind of attitude and that mindset, it just seems to get better. Things tend to get better, right? Are you kind? Right? Bring your help with your kindness. And it's weird. People will just be like, oh, I like that human. That human should be in the band, right? That human is just kind and helpful over and over and over. And they'll let you grow how you want to grow. So if I could stand on a soapbox, and what I tell my son and my daughter, a gentleman always gives his best. A lady always gives her best, right? Help. That's why they see, that's why I've been trying to set the example of being on school boards, right? Volunteering for positions, because a gentleman always gives his best, and so does a lady. And so let's be kind to each other. Let's help each other. And I bet you tomorrow gets a little bit better. That's my guess.
Well, Bryan, I so appreciate the wisdom that you've shared here today with me. I've really gotten so much out of it, and I'm sure that whoever listens is equally going to benefit from what you've shared here today. Thank you so much for being my guest on the True Leadership Podcast.
Those are kind words. This was a pleasure and a joy. Thank you so much, Ty. This was just lovely. Thank you.
That's it for this episode of the True Leadership Podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this to catch future episodes. This conversation was brought to you by One Mountain Leadership, where we help leaders grow the capacity, confidence, and presence of true leadership through the True Leadership approach. To learn more about the approach, our offerings, our community, and how we can help you realize your potential in both leadership and in life, visit us at onemountainleadership.com.